Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Ooh, showtime.
Showtime. Showtime.
Showtime.
Showtime. Showtime. Showtime.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers, and welcome in to the fastest show in sports. I am Ed Berliner. I am your ringmaster. I am the senior redhead, although no longer be if you're watching on video on YouTube, which is really pissing me off no end. To my left, his right, your right, somewhere on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, he is Kevin Winter, former ESPN host, anchor, play-by-play, you name it. The man's done it. The man's been there. And also, we started together in Boston 150 years ago. And darn it, only because we're basically on podcast as well, I did not bring up the picture of Kevin that I sent him earlier this week of him 20 years ago sitting at the Sports Pulse desk. I guarantee I will bring it up for Friday's show.
That's good. By the way, can I just say I love holiday weekends. I spend first off, yes, you get to go out and you do things with family and stuff or just drink. Which Dan and wife with me, so we're good. But I'm a huge Yellowstone fan, and Paramount every holiday, no matter what it is, they're gonna run a 3-day bender of every episode of Yellowstone. So I just leave it on my TV, and I get all the sports on my laptops. And if I'm around, that's what I spent the weekend doing.
But the problem with it is, Yellowstone was great in the first few seasons, and then when they broke the last season into 2 parts, it sucked. It was awful. The whole beginning of the season with John Dutton being dead, spoiler! But that's only because Costner was out on his contract negotiations.
They didn't have a choice because Costner was doing his own show.
Well, no, he was doing the movie, and I can't even remember the movie's name. It's the one that bombed.
It's a movie, or was it the show on History called The West?
Well, he's doing The West, but then he also did a movie, and I can't for the life of me, it's on the tip of my tongue, but he did this grand opus of 3 hours long, and it was part 1 of a Western drama, and it was awful. I mean, it cost him everything. He put all his own money into it, and it went belly up. So he was doing that, and he was doing The West, but to begin that last season of Yellowstone, where just automatically, boom, Costner's dead. Come on, man. That was awful.
I wondered how it would play out, but look, this is also where I'm sure Taylor Sheridan probably has the belief, I don't need you. I'm a good writer, and I'll write the show the way I want.
Well, he did need him. That's the problem. He did, and he also spent other time. Let's see. What was the other one? He was doing the Taylor Sheridan also does the show with
Landman.
Landman is the one with Billy Bob Thornton. But what's the one with Sylvester Stallone, which was Tulsa Kings. Tulsa Kings is a great show.
Yes.
Tulsa Kings. I have not seen Landman yet.
Okay, I have not. I watched the first couple of episodes, which were free on regular Paramount because Landman is Paramount Plus exclusively.
Right.
And I don't have that app or that subscription, so that's coming. And anyway.
I'll talk to you about that. The senior redhead knows all. But before we leave this Yellowstone I'm glad you brought this up. Is it not fair to say that Beth Dutton is the best female character in the history of television? Period. End of story. I love her, although I can't stand her sometimes. But what a great character.
It's an absolute great character. And I'll tell you, here's what I get out of it. For the second show that I really fell in love with, because one of the other ones was Sons of Anarchy, one of the top characters, one of the top actors or performers, we'll call them, one was an actor, one was an actress, was played by an English person. So I was a Sons of Anarchy fan. Jax, I can't remember the actor's name, he's English. And Beth is English.
Yes.
They had to bring the English over to do the shows.
Yeah, it's funny. Shannon and I were talking about this last night because we were watching a couple of different shows. Like, we're big into A Handmaid's Tale, which is absolutely stunningly brilliant writing and brilliant production. It is a show that once you pick up, you can't put it down. And a lot of the actors there are British. In All of
Okay.
Us on HBO Max right now, which everybody, or Max or HBO or Home Box Office or whatever the hell they're calling it these days, the main lead character in that is a British actress. And many of them are British. That's because, quite frankly, the British are good. It's easier to do an American accent for a Brit than it is to do a British accent for an American.
That's fair.
Very difficult. But they're really good actors. So, but I mean, Beth Dutton is one of my favorite characters of all time, simply because she doesn't give a shit.
No. She lives the life, or portrays the life that 99% of people in the world want to have. They just can't.
Yes. It is fair to say that most people want to be Beth Dutton, to be able to tell somebody, F you, F off, I do this, get out of my way, stand aside, I'm in charge.
Yep,
they love it.
Exactly.
They love it.
I'm with you 100%. So with that being said,
all being said, you get the lead off today. What's on the agenda for the for the junior redhead?
So the Knicks dropped 2 at home. I was this close. Do you remember a couple of years ago when the Knicks, after a home opener, they get a home opening win, and some kid gets in front of the MSG camera outside of Madison Square Garden, and he says, "Bing bong," and "Bing bong" goes viral?
I do not.
Okay, it happened. I was this close to tweeting "Bing bong" after the Knicks are down 0-2. God damn it, I'm so glad I didn't, because I don't know.
Well, if you want to go ahead and start in the NBA, let's start with this. Oklahoma, Minnesota, who?
I know.
I mean, from a national perspective, I'm not casting any aspersions here on the people who follow Oklahoma City and Minnesota, but from a national viewpoint, who cares? I mean, I will tell you this much. You could probably find people who are not too deep into the NBA who might be able to name a couple of players on the Knicks and the Pacers, but I don't know if you could say the same thing about Oklahoma City and Minnesota. Most of the players, I mean, there's great players there, but most people will go, I don't know who they are.
Well, hang on. I'm not too sure about that. I think Anthony Edwards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have established themselves as marquee players in the NBA. Hang on. Not only that, but also in sports. Here's where I'm taking it. Anthony Edwards made a name for himself last Olympics when he's on the team with LeBron and Steph and Durant, and Anthony Edwards comes out and says, "Game's on the line, and I'm taking the last shot because I'm the best player on the team." And it's like, all right. That, by the way, you say that gets headlines on SportsCenter. Now, all of a sudden, when the game comes on NBC, hey, who is this Anthony Edwards kid? So you'll turn it on when he was up playing for the Olympics. SGA, not as much because he plays for Canada. But I think the Olympics actually has a lot to do with helping making these NBA players the national and the global stars that they are, on top of what the NBA marketing scheme and the marketing machine will do for them.
I'll give you that. So
those are just those players. Go ahead.
I'll give you that. But in the same vein, Oklahoma City and Minnesota have no national sizzle whatsoever. If you're looking for a game that's going to captivate America and it's going to have people tuning in and it's going to have really great play, you can market the shit out of these two teams all you want, but most of the nation will go, okay. I mean, to me, it's not appointment viewing. Now, if you go from the Pacers and the Knicks, I think the Pacers have made a name for themselves. I think that they're a little more recognizable, but it still comes down to the fact, and we've mentioned this before, the NBA is desperate for the New York Knicks to get into the finals because that will kick up the ratings. Because I agree, people 100%. Just love or hate the Knicks. I don't think you love or hate the Pacers.
No.
And I don't think you love or hate Oklahoma City or Minnesota. You love or hate the New York Knicks. And that makes for great viewing.
You love or hate the Knicks, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Heat, the Warriors. Those are probably the 5 teams you love or hate, be given of where they are. Knicks, Celtics, Lakers, definitely. Knicks, Celtics, Lakers, 1,000%.
Yes.
Those are your. if Philadelphia were any good, they'd be in there, but they're not. They're irrelevant.
Yep.
In this day and age, I'd say the Warriors and then just the Heat, because the Heat have kind of created that Heat culture. And me, from the guy from Boston, loves the fact that Heat culture is dead.
Now, is it fair to say that you would put Dallas in there too, maybe, as one of those teams that people love or hate? Or, well, no, maybe in the past, but now the luster's off Dallas now.
When they had Luka, yes, because people love or hated Luka.
The dad bod.
I'm not a fan of Luka. I'm not a fan of dad bod guy. I'm not a fan of I don't play defense guy, okay? I'm not a fan of that. I'd say there's 5 teams. Back to the NBA Finals or whatever it's going to be, or back to these playoffs. Last night's game is a hell of a game between the Thunder and the Wolves. Minnesota needs the win to even the series, go back to OKC up 2-2. It's a 2-point win for Oklahoma City. It's a hell of a game. I'm curious about the ratings. Probably got destroyed. Just because we're not going to see high ratings, and I'm putting my air quotes, you're not going to see big ratings numbers, does not mean that there's not going to be exceptionally high-level basketball.
Couldn't agree more. Everybody, too often, people get into this ratings issue where they go, well, the ratings are down 20%, or the ratings are off from last year, or the ratings are not what they were 5 or 6 years ago. I don't care. I mean, if the games are good, the games are good. The only time people talk about ratings is because they want to say, well, Oklahoma City sucks and Minnesota sucks and you guys can't draw anything and nobody in America really cares about you. That's all they do. They do it to create, again, those 2 words I'm famous for, contrived controversy.
Yes. I agree 100%. So
then, having said all that, which is, if you were to take the Final Four, because you're the NBA guy, I'm going to say well, you certainly are more of an NBA guy than me.
That's fair. No, I wasn't rolling my eyes there. I'm rolling my eyes trying to think of where you're going here, because it's a hard answer. But go ahead.
Okay, it's pretty easy, actually. If I had to pick, I would say that my dream final now would probably be OKC and the Knicks. That's the one you need in order to draw. Did I get it?
Yes, 100. Okay. Oklahoma City, best team in the NBA in the regular season. You've got a team that last year didn't make it to the conference finals. They lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves. No, or they lose to Dallas. They lost. Dallas. I think they lost to Minnesota. Or maybe it was Dallas. I can't remember. You're right, Ed. My bad. They get knocked out in the second round. So now you've got a young team that bounces back and establishes themselves as the best team in the NBA this year. And here they are on the cusp of making an NBA Finals. When the last time they did it, they had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook all together as babies back in the LeBron in Miami days. The East is simple. No one in the world is ever going to argue about the NBA is dying for the New York Knicks to get into the NBA Finals, because that will drive ratings. That also sends my former company and someone who was very good to me, and a guy like Stephen A. Smith, that sends him into fucking cuckoo land. Because he's going to go batshit crazy every day on the air, and it is arguably going to become, for those who like that, for those who kind of like that show,
the shtick,
the shtick, yeah, that's going to become must-watch television every morning at 10 a.m. Right. So that everyone, especially ABC, who has the finals, they're begging for the Knicks. I think your best basketball, Ed, is going to be the Pacers and Thunder.
Pacers and Thunder. Okay.
Pacers and Thunder. Best basketball, Pacers and Thunder. Problem is, if you're a non-NBA fan, you just have no idea who these people are.
Well, that's correct. That's all part of it, but that happens a lot. I mean, the only sport, I think, where people will watch simply for the spectacle and they don't give a damn if it's 2 bad teams is the Super Bowl.
Right.
People will watch that because that's the way it's been marketed. But going back to the NBA then, I think the best thing for the NBA this season would be for the New York Knicks to make the finals and then get torched. Absolutely. Nothing would be better, because if the New York Knicks win, then the New York fans are all going to be puffing out their chests. They're all going to be climbing light poles. They're all going to be climbing subway trains somewhere to go ahead and prove how stupid some of them are. But it will then be, hey, the Knicks are the best. Look at this. And not only that, but the Dolans get to celebrate too. And I can't wait to see the Dolans get buried every single day of my life. But if an Oklahoma City wins, or somebody else wins except for the Knicks, that to
Yep.
me is better for the NBA because that's going to open it up. People will say, wait a minute, I've been paying way too much attention over here. Yeah, the Knicks are the New York City team, but what about this team over here in Indiana?
Yeah,
What about this
agree.
Oklahoma City? What about this Timberwolves team? The best thing in the world would be for the Knicks to get blown out. Wait a minute. You want to talk about a storyline? If the Knicks make the playoffs and get torched,
You mean the NBA Finals? Yeah, and get
in the
blasted.
finals, that would be an unbelievable storyline. The NBA would still make a tremendous amount of money. Can you imagine if it's 3-0 or 3-1 the opposing team against the Knicks? Ratings will go through the ceiling on those follow games after that, and the Knicks lose. Huge storyline. Huge.
Ratings go through the ceilings. Ratings go through the ceilings for that one game to watch them get swept, but ABC is crying and begging because they need 5 games to break even.
I don't give a shit what ABC wants.
I'm the one who doesn't work for the company anymore, and I'm actually I'm helping them.
I mean, there it is. That's one of the most speciously stupid arguments that we hear every single year. Well, the ratings are down for the World Series. The ratings are down for the Stanley Cup. I don't give a shit. If it's good sports and it's fun to watch, that's all I care about. Look,
You want to know why people say ratings are down? There's no other metric to judge. Sorry, let me back this up for a moment.
Go ahead.
It's the laziest metric to judge how something is being played out.
Yes.
It's an absolute lazy metric. I don't know shit about baseball. I'm going to just look at the World Series numbers on how many eyeballs are watching the World Series, and I'm going to make that as my be-all and end-all determination that no one is watching because those numbers tell me no one's watching.
It is based on the people who don't like the sport. They'll go, oh, see, I told you, Major League Baseball sucks. You're not getting the kind of audience you wanted. See, I told you, hockey sucks because you're not getting the kind of audience you want. However, the people who are involved in those sports are so niche-oriented and they enjoy the sport so much, they will watch the sport. That's all I care about. And not only that, Kev, but if you look at Fox Sports, ABC Sports, ESPN, all these various, Disney, all these companies, they're going to make shitloads of money regardless because they're getting massive amounts of money on the commercial time, massive amounts of marketing time. They're making money hand over fist. Who cares if the ratings are down and ABC or Disney or ESPN or Fox loses a couple of bucks? Why do you care?
Well, so this goes back to people who don't like either the sport or don't like that the message that some of the players
or the players, yeah.
Or the players. There's a guy on the internet. I have zero use for him. I know who he is. He is an absolute way too far right, batshit crazy. His name's Clay Travis. There, I said his name.
Okay, no, yeah, say his name. That's Outkick.
That's Outkick, correct. They love nothing more than to tweak and to shit on anything for anyone who has an opinion that's not theirs.
Of course.
And if that sport drops in ratings, in viewership, they think it's because that league went woke.
Well, they're giddy. Not only that, but they're also believing people like Clay Travis and Outkick will believe that if a championship game goes down or if the ratings are down, we had something to do with it. We at Outkick had something to do with it because we got on it and we made fun of them. Everybody's reacting to us because that's how self-important and self-aggrandizing that we are, which is the height of unmitigated bullshit.
Agree. So there are many factors, but someone like Andrew Marchand will write about the NBA Finals. And look, maybe the NBA Finals won't have bad ratings. I get the feeling unless New York's in there, much like you, the ratings are going to be less. Again, just because the ratings are down does not mean it's not good basketball. I think we're going to see outstanding basketball. You just have to like it, and you're just not going to get the marketed name of Steph Curry or the marketed team of historical significance like the Boston Celtics or a marketed name like LeBron James, who hasn't been in the finals since the bubble.
Which is why it's absolutely great that LeBron James isn't in it. Steph Curry's not in it. The Boston Celtics aren't in it. The LA Lakers aren't in it. It's the best thing in the world for the NBA.
If you want growth for your league, this is how you get growth all across the board.
Correct.
I don't need. It's a blessing. I remember in 08. Were you still up here in 08?
No.
Okay. I remember in 08. I was kind of 4 years into ESPN. But I wasn't doing the NBA. Someone else was. I was maybe helping out, but I was not in my lead role that I had at the end, as a studio host. It was just an utter dream for ESPN and for the NBA that it's Lakers Celtics in the finals. You can't market that any better. But how do you grow a sport? Do you grow a league and a sport by just having the two mainstays and the two pillars battle each other out all through the 60s like they did? You needed to establish that. And by the way, in the 80s, you had to reestablish that with Magic and Larry, but they didn't face each other every year. You had other teams that came in there. But the best way to grow a league in a sport is to have all these other teams get a little kick at the can. And now you're doing that with 4 fresh ones. And then obviously the biggest storyline is the New York Knicks, who haven't won since the advent. Were they in color television when they won?
Yeah, they were. I'm not quite sure. They might not have.
Some people didn't have color television when they won in the 70s.
In the 70s, yeah. Some people didn't have color TV.
Was it 72, I think? Yeah.
I think 72, 73.
72, 73, somewhere in there? Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's going to be good. Now I'm curious, actually, while we're here. So there's ratings on that. You told me something off the air. What about the ratings in the Stanley Cup? They're down.
I want to get into that. First of all, before we get into that, I want to remind everybody, quick break, don't forget, if you want to join us on podcast, if you're not there, The Fastest Show in Sports is on all the major platforms. It hosts on Podbean. You can get us there. Please subscribe and get us there. On YouTube, it's at The Fastest Show in Sports. Subscribe to the YouTube channel there to watch the video. Also, you can see a lot of us on TikTok and X under my account, Berliner Speaks. You can see us there. And if you want to email us, don't forget you can email us at fastestshowinsports@gmail.com. We will actually read emails without having to be forced to do it. So there you go.
I would love to. By the way, thank God you do all that because holy shit, I just got lost trying to follow you and all that promotion.
Wait a minute. That's okay. Then I didn't do it right.
No, you did. I'm listening. But here's the beauty. Everyone out there, he did it right. And the best part is, if you're watching, it's right there on the little bottom of the screen. See that scroll that goes across? There it is. We got a lot to get into.
It will now remind me once again that next time I do promotions, make sure to do it simply and effectively and also slowly so that some of the audience may be able to catch up. Because if you do it too fast, some people may not be able to stay with you.
Look, some people had a long weekend drinking, okay? Some of us had a long weekend.
I did not have a long. I had a.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. Talking about me.
I had a very nice, calm weekend, and only had a few cocktails. I did not.
Sure, I had a few in an hour yesterday.
You, on the other hand, went incredibly stupid, which is kind of normal. So. Hey, at least you're consistent, man. I'll give you this much. You're not going, hey, it was Memorial Day weekend and I didn't have anything to drink. Yeah, okay, we believe that.
Yeah, not happening.
That ain't going anywhere. Now, on to this.
I was on rum and cokes yesterday, too.
What kind of rum?
It was Captain.
Okay, I'm just making sure because your beer choices suck. I want to make sure you're at least somewhere decently on a decent rum somewhere, even though Captain Morgan is kind of pedestrian these days. But we will take them as a sponsor.
We absolutely. I went through a bottle of Makers on Friday. I had Maker's Mark.
I had a Captain back here somewhere. Oh.
Yeah? Is it Captain the action figure? Yes! Yes, Captain Morgan, let's go. Let's go, Captain. Come on, baby.
A Captain Morgan keychain of all things.
Good Lord. So, that is incredible.
I got so much crap behind me. It's frightening. One of these days I'm going to sell it and I'll make $1.95.
Yeah, no shit.
At least I got my rats. Okay, here we go. Speaking of rats and speaking of everything else, I'm a fan of the National Hockey League, and I've become a fan of the National Hockey League much more in the last few seasons. Last 20 years, maybe, I've become much more of a fan. Because to me, It's an exciting game. It's unpredictable. The athletes are the best athletes in any team sport, period. End of story. Walk away. There is more drama that goes on in a hockey game than any other sport that can happen at any single second where games change. Which is why when we get down to this time of year, I am always finding it, and we talked about ratings here. The ratings are down on ESPN. Big ballyhoo headline I saw on one of the announcing sites. I think it's down like 25% on ESPN. They're averaging about 880,000, 900,000 viewers a game. It's down on TNT, and I got to tell you, the TNT crew, awesome. I mean, really.
I went to high school at Boucher.
With who?
Brian Boucher.
Oh, okay.
Brian Boucher, in between the benches, yeah.
They've just done marvelous. I mean, Albert and Olczyk and Boucher and all of them, and the intermission team. Bissonnette has become a star just on being a real pain in the ass. God love him, but it's really become fun. But I can never understand why more people don't watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's one of those things. It's been a conversation that's been going on for decades, where I'm told constantly, well, basketball's more popular. Basketball's more popular in the cities. It's more popular in the urban settings. You can't play hockey by yourself. You can play basketball by yourself. It takes a lot of money to play hockey. You need more equipment. All you need is a basketball, back and forth. I hear all these statements over and over again, but for sheer excitement, you cannot beat the NHL, period, end of story. And I don't understand why more people aren't into it. There has to be something behind this.
By the way, I kept waiting for period, like the guy Will did in the newsroom, that HBO show, when he went on one of his rants. But I got a point for you to make, or for me to make a point to you regarding ESPN right now. You said ESPN's ratings for ESPN is doing the West.
Correct.
So that is Dallas and Edmonton. Anytime you have a Canadian team in a conference finals, that network always sees a dip because a large chunk of your audience is coming from Canada. The Americans also, I don't want to watch. I don't agree with it. I'm telling you, that's what I've heard over the years. I, too, like you, Ed, am trying to find out why in the hell people don't watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm dead serious.
I've heard all these arguments and all these discussions over the years, and I remember the first one I heard a long time ago. Well, it's played on ice. People can't skate. If I can't skate, I can't relate to it, but I can hit a baseball, and I can catch a football, and I can also throw a basketball into the hoop, but I can't play with a stick. I can't skate, so I can't get along with it. I can't identify with it. Most people who watch the Super Bowl couldn't throw a football 10 feet unless it's a Nerf football. And they're doing it with their families and stuff. People aren't athletic. What are you telling me that the people who watch all the 4 major sports and the 16 major sports, whatever it is, are all athletic? That's why you like it?
No.
Nonsense. That's ridiculous.
I'm with you. I think the Canada aspect has something to do with it.
Yeah.
I am not a believer in that. Or I've never been able to study and find out why that is, but it does happen a lot. I've heard it. I remember doing it. Look, I remember being a young broadcaster up here in Boston on a radio station that couldn't operate a toaster oven. And I loved, and this was actually the first of 3 that I worked at.
1510 the zone.
1510 the zone. That is correct. Thank you very much. Let's get that one in. Correct. Started there. I love talking about hockey. And my producer said to us, he says, look, you guys can talk hockey and you're going to get callers for hockey, but you're only going to get the small segment of the population. Every other sports radio caller who's on hold or who's listening is going to tune out. When you talk hockey, even in a hub like Boston, we're just a hockey town back in the day, right? Even in a place like Boston, you talk hockey, you're only going to get a small faction of the listener, but they're going to be passionate and loyal. Everyone else goes click, and I don't know why it is.
Well, part of the reason is if you look at sports, the NFL has become a major success because they have learned how to market the sport, the game, the players when there's no games underway, when it's the off season. It is a massive marketing deal where people cannot wait. Every single day you can pick up something about the NFL. Same thing about college football. They've done the same thing thanks to the gambling, thanks to also the recruiting issues on it. They keep it going 365. You don't do that in basketball, a little bit now maybe. You don't do that in baseball, certainly not, except for the winter meetings. But in hockey, they failed miserably when it comes to their marketing over the years. They haven't done it. They've got this little guy. They've almost got this little guy Napoleonic complex where they're just moving forward on a few things here and there instead of looking to be big and market their players. I think a lot of it is the players really don't want to get involved. The players in hockey are very private, very family-oriented. They don't get involved in a lot of stuff that they get a lot of publicity for. And I think that's to the detriment of the NHL and the players themselves. People don't know who these guys are. They have no idea.
I agree.
They're learning more. They're learning more now. I got to give them credit. I mean, there's players out there like Connor McDavid you'll hear, and you'll hear so many of the others that are going on. And Ovechkin lights him up this year, and Brad Marchand, what he's doing with the Panthers right now. But most people wouldn't know a hockey player if they stepped on him.
I agree. I agree 100%. You said a couple of things there that I want to go back to. I remember my dad ran into a hockey player. He used to work next to the Boston Garden, and he ran into a hockey player, or he ran into Mike Lynch at Channel 5. And he says, "Hey, I got a question. Why does it seem like hockey players are the nicest guys out there?" He says, "Well, A, they are the nicest usually. B, they're also the lowest paid out of all the four sports." And it kind of humbles you for a little bit.
They're more appreciative, I think.
Maybe that's a better word. Great word. They're more appreciative of what they have. It takes a lot of effort in that one. I'm with you. I'm with you there. It does drive me nuts. It drives me nuts. I know you rattled off a bunch of reasons. It's always been confounding, right?
Well, there's another one in here. To me, when it comes down to the other sports, let's just look at them let's just go with four major sports for right now. Okay, wait a minute. We'll even go with five. Let's go with soccer and put it in there for what it is right now, okay? Out of these sports, only the National Hockey League has a game where anything can happen that changes the game in seconds. And it continues along that way. It's here. 3 seconds, you're down the ice. 3 seconds, you're over here. 5 seconds, you're here. Players are changing. Offense and defense. The players are moving constantly. The chessboard pieces are never still in hockey. In baseball, sitting still. Football, get set, throw a play, get set, throw a play. Basketball, short stops, short bursts here and there. It's not nearly as, in my opinion, it's not nearly as fast a game as it used to be. I could be wrong there as well. But you're still getting to the point where it's get to the end of the floor, stop, pop, shoot, come back, wait, stop, pop, shoot, foul, everything stops. Nothing stops in hockey. It continually moves. That's thrilling.
It is, but also now I understand where you're going.
But it's confusing.
It is confusing. So that's where the brains, for some people, they'll sit back and watch and say, "I have no idea what I just watched." If you ever want to win a fan base, you need to have that person say, "I have no idea what I just watched, but ... that was awesome." If you ever get that out of someone, that means you've hooked them. I remember the first time I ever saw a UFC fight. I had no idea what the UFC was. No clue. I'm dead serious.
You mean human cockfighting?
Huh?
Human cockfighting?
Yes, human cockfighting. I get it, buddy. I get it. You hate it.
I do. I do.
I know. But hang on. I'm a boxing guy like you. I loved boxing. Shit, 30 years ago, I could probably name you every champion at all the belts because there were only like 6 or whatever there were.
Exactly.
I knew that. I knew them all. Now, but the first time I saw UFC, I'm not a diehard junkie of UFC, but the first time I saw it, I went, "Holy shit, I don't know what that is, but that was awesome." And then I wanted to see it again. You brought up another point as well regarding marketing for the NFL, like what the NFL does. this was something that I'm glad I didn't do a talk show, Ed, when I was at ESPN. I'm glad I did games, because the game is always going to be the show. Every talk show at ESPN Radio, if you were to listen for a week, and it's the beginning of every hour, it's going to open with an NFL segment. It's fucking May.
Why?
Going on June.
There's two reasons why. Two reasons why.
Great.
Go ahead.
Two reasons. Ready? Number one, the moment you say NFL, the ear in the car or the ear wherever goes, till it's like the little puppy dog looking for the treat.
That's true. Looking for the treat. Yeah.
Right? Every ear just goes ding, 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 ding. They heard go for right. They heard that's what every person heard. Want to go for right? The other aspect is, given where the NFL is, every fan thinks they can manage their team better at that sport, or they're going to have an influence on it.
The fantasy side of things.
The fantasy side of things, correct. Everyone is now your 20. I saw a commercial or for someone to start doing your fantasy football draft. You fucking serious? Come on!
In May.
In May! A fantasy football draft? Stop! Get a goddamn life, people!
Well, you can't say that. Wait a minute. Fantasy is what drove the NFL to the heights that it is today, including kept baseball alive for a long time. Because everybody thinks they can do it better than anybody else, but it's part of the, what? The gambling side of things. Because I'm going to go back decades when I was doing talk shows in Miami and national talk shows as well. We couldn't talk about fantasy. We couldn't. Management didn't allow us to do it because it was seen as gambling.
Oh, okay.
So you couldn't do it. It was part of the whole gamble issue. So we didn't talk. But then it started to creep in because management started to do it on the sly. They said, come on, let's sneak a little in here right now and talk a little of this. It made huge money for everybody. That was the beginning of the gambling side of things. Because that's what it is.
You couldn't do the Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek. Hey, Greek. Giants are favored by 6 at home against Philadelphia. What do you think? And the Greek and Jimmy says, and by the way, this is where I fell in love with gambling. Coming home from church on Sunday mornings, watching the NFL Today, and Jimmy the Greek says, "Oh, I think the Giants are going to win by 2 touchdowns." And it's like, "Oh shit!" And next thing you know, the Greek's right. It's like, "Hey, I like this guy."
That was all the beginning of it, and then you came right down to fantasy. So that's why, I never played fantasy. Fantasy football, fantasy baseball. I never got involved in it because I just wasn't interested. I was busy covering the games and talking about them and stuff, and I kind of looked down my nose a lot of times at those who did fantasy. Nothing more than another band of degenerate gamblers. That's all. You're interested in the game not because of the game and the purity of itself, but you're interested in the game because you can make money. Boy, was I off. I mean, I was sitting on my high horse at the time, and I missed it completely. I admit it. But fantasy is what drives a lot of these things right now.
I agree.
That's what. Now there is another reason why, and let's go back to the hockey issue. Fantasy football, huge. Fantasy baseball, huge. Fantasy basketball and hockey and soccer.
Hang on, ready? Fantasy basketball. Not as big as the other two, but bigger than hockey. You could probably find me. I could probably find 5 people in my town to maybe play fantasy hockey. Wouldn't have a clue how to start it.
Why? Now, is it because there's not enough statistics to bet on? No, there's actually a lot of stats that you can bet on here. Statistics. So
I don't know, Ed.
I don't know what the reason there is.
I don't either. Actually, hang on. Let's go to something we've talked about. How many times do you hear fantasy hockey marketed? Never. You don't.
Never.
Fantasy baseball and fantasy football have already done their guerrilla marketing. You don't need guerrilla marketing anymore. Those are they're now staples in America. I mean, there's a 30.
No, the National Hockey League. And I happen to know some of the people there in the front office and some of the people who are involved in this, and they're old friends, haven't talked to them in years, but I know them, they're good people. But they failed miserably when it comes to promoting this sport
Yes.
12 months out of the year. You don't hear about, you will hear now, for instance, in the last 24 hours, we've heard about the World Championships, and people are talking about it. And you have American players who are there, and NHL players are there. And Jeremy Swayman, who plays for the Boston Bruins, is playing for the U.S. team. And they made a big...
Is that the one we just won for the first time in 92 years? Yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. won the championships. Swayman, who got beat up this year with the Bruins for a number of reasons, partially Bruins, partially him, he went 7-0 in the nets. That's huge. I mean, that's huge news. A guy coming back, and he's undefeated in the World Championships or a World Championship.
By the way, you want to know something? That night, Ed, never saw a highlight at SportsCenter.
Never.
Never saw a highlight.
Never. But if it was a World Basketball Championship, you'd see wall-to-wall highlights on it. Because
would have left the show with Steph and LeBron.
Okay, and why? There's one big reason there. ABC, ESPN, Disney has a huge financial stake in these sports, in the NFL, in basketball, in all of these other sports. They do not have a huge financial stake, nor do they look at the National Hockey League as a big moneymaker. To them, it's nothing more than we got it. We'll get 1 million people in here. We'll sell some ads. We'll make them happy. They don't look at it, and the NHL doesn't push for it. The NHL needs to be more aggressive in getting their players and their teams out there.
I remember two things. Number one, when the NHL came back to ESPN, so NBC's contract expired a few years ago, and the NHL went to Turner and ESPN. Gary Bettman was on the morning show, or maybe he was on with Mike Greenberg, and he says, look, if you guys do as well promoting us as you did shutting us out all these years, we're going to be fine. And by the way, that's a little shot, but he was right.
He was right.
Why you come back to a powerhouse like that. Here's another thing. I had an executive tell me, or a boss tell me 10 years ago at ESPN, you started hearing the rumblings of, I'm like, why aren't we getting any love from Major League Baseball? I mean, ESPN Radio, Scott, we're the only entity at ESPN that had Major League Baseball's postseason. It was ESPN Radio. ESPN Radio carries every game of the postseason. ESPN Television, once the wild card round is done, ESPN Television is out.
Yep.
They're done. It goes to Fox and Turner, right? Why don't we get the love? And the answer I was given was, Kevin, in about 10 years, you're going to see this network basically solely cover football and basketball. We're going to become a football and basketball network.
It's all about the money.
And look what's happened. The only reason you're getting hockey is because you're fresh into a contract. When that contract's up, I'm going to be very curious what happens. Obviously, look what they're doing for baseball. Now, granted, they were overpaying through the wazoo for Sunday Night Baseball, and they had to get rid of that because Amazon Prime was paying like $750 million when we were paying when ESPN was paying something, maybe $1 billion. It was just dumb. So they had to bounce out. They had to bounce out of that contract. But the idea that there may be no playoff games on ESPN Radio, executives just don't seem to care because we're going to have the NFL and basketball. We'll be fine. And honestly, I think that's what TV people believe nowadays. As long as you need to have some stake in the NFL or in the NBA. Why does NBC go back to the NBA, Ed? Why did they go back?
Money.
There are money. Those are the two sports that are driving all
That's
this.
what everybody does. I mean, come on, that's an old story. I mean, look, Sunday, it was fun because it was those of us who like motorsports, we call it the triple, where on the Sunday before Memorial Day, you would be able to watch the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix in the morning. You switch then to the Indianapolis 500 in the afternoon, and then you go to the Coca-Cola 600 NASCAR at night. It was a brilliant day for those, and I'm not as much of a motorsports fan as I used to be. I still like it, but I'm not going to sit there and watch it unless it's the Indy. I'll watch the Indy 500 from
the Indy? Okay.
start to finish because that at 230 miles an hour coming down the straightaway, that's one of the most exciting things in sports, period. But you had that day where you would be able to watch on the networks. We were just hanging around Sunday night watching some stuff. I said, hey, let me go ahead and catch a little bit of the Coke 600. I flipped around, and I flipped around again. Where is it?
Couldn't find it.
Well, let me see. It's not on CBS. It used to be CBS. It's not NBC. It's not ABC. It's not Fox. It's not ESPN. It's not CW. Where is it? You know where it was?
No.
Amazon. I didn't even know it. I had no clue where this race was being held. I had to look it up, and then I had to go, we get Amazon, so I went there to watch it for a little while. But I'm thinking about, do fans really want to pay this extra freight, which is where it's going now, because if it comes down to watching every sport, it's all going to be pay-per-view very soon. Everyone is going to be, you're not just going to be able to watch anything for free anymore. Look, I said this decades ago. I said, wait until the National Football League becomes a sport where every game is going to be pay-per-view. You will watch every single game. You'll get maybe 1 or 2 free games, but that's it. Everything else, where are we? Everything is pay-per-view right now. You can watch anything you want, but the fans got to pay for it. And does the fan want to pay for it? In the case of the NFL and motorsports and NBA, I guess they do. They're making money.
Yep, agree.
So, but from the hockey side of things, and we'll wrap on this because we'll talk about it again down the road. To me, the National Hockey League player is the finest athlete in any sport, any team sport, period, dead stop. Because what they have to go through, the physicality of the game, playing offense and defense, the speed of the game, having to be involved in certain plays, having to come off the ice, do a minute and a half, come out, get spent, go back on again, the continued changes that go on. But it's the absolute speed and physicality of the game that cannot be matched in any other sport. I've heard some people go that, well, you can make it sort of akin to soccer. No, it's not. Soccer, you can still take a minute. You can get a breather coming up the field. It has an ebb and a flow. Hockey has an ebb and a flow, but it's moving at 80 miles an hour. Yeah, so to me, there is no more exciting sport than hockey. So when people tell me hockey's boring, I go, get out of here.
Look, hang on. If you say hockey's boring, I'm sorry. You don't know the game, and nor are you willing to learn the game.
Well, that's part of it too.
You're confused. And just don't tell me hockey's boring. Tell me you're confused and you don't understand the sport.
I don't know what the confusion level is.
You say that. Huh? I
don't get it. When people say I'm confused and I don't know the rules and I don't know what I just saw, what are you missing? Offside is easy to tell. Icing is easy to tell.
Hang on.
Oh, come on.
It's a lot easier now. How about back when they had 2-line passes?
Well, okay, but again, you're talking history. I'm talking now.
I know. I get it. I understand what you're saying.
It's simple. It's simple. Just like in football.
I think you're also you're being a little too harsh on the fan who doesn't know the game because you're trying to defend the sport you love.
Well, then just learn the game. What's wrong with that? Can we no longer learn games anymore?
By the way, that takes effort and want to.
Well, it takes effort and you've got to want to do it. That's exactly right. But I'm saying, look, in football, offside is easy. Here's the line. If you're on the other side of the line, before the ball moves, that's offside. In hockey, here's the line.
Well, it depends. Now, hang on, is it my body or is it the puck?
If the player is completely in the other zone, if the player's in the other zone before the puck gets there, you preceded the puck. It's easy. It's not that hard. Reminder once again, everybody, that if you want to catch us on, let me do it again very nicely now. If you'd like, for those of you listening to us on the audio podcast, don't forget, you can also watch us on YouTube by going to, and I want to make sure I get this right now, at The Fastest Show in Sports. Please subscribe. You'll also catch us there in shorts, quick 2-minute segments, and also full segments as well, including the show. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube and you'd like to get us on audio podcast, just look for The Fastest Show in Sports wherever you get your favorite podcast. And we are housed on Podbean, so you can always get it there. And you can always find us under @BerlinerSpeaks, at TikTok, and at X, and at Instagram. Also Kevin Winter's site every now and then on X. And if you'd like to email us at fastestshowinsports@gmail.com.
Hang on, send some emails.
We thank you for your patronage.
There needs to be music behind that next time.
This segment has been brought to you by Polar.
Right down the street
Polar
from me.
Seltzer, right down the street from Kevin in Worcester, Mass.
That's right.
We drink Polar, and we're also sucking around for Polar to please sponsor us because we're good guys. We'll all drink Polar, and we'll all push it because you need a good, solid show at Polar to be able to push your beverage. And we're it. Polar! The redheads drink it. Come on, man! You got to suck up somehow. Now,
can we do a show? Can we do a show one day? Just
we can do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. We're college students.
It's a fair point. I want to do a show about all the people who try to do when they slip in live reads or you slip in commercial reads. We need to do a show of just slipping in reads left and right. And critiquing how they do it because it's
okay.
Honestly, it's a skill. It's so funny. As someone who we're in the business, so watching them and knowing that here comes the billboard, here comes the sell point. We know this side of things. It is so friggin' funny.
I mean, it's easy. You can sell just about anything, but all you have to do is you have to have product available. Yes. And Don't forget, go to the Ryman Auditorium when you're in Nashville, Tennessee, and enjoy the Ryman with all the wonderful experiences and entertainment that they have, and come home with your own Ryman harmonica.
Attaboy. I like it.
Well, there goes all of our audience right out the window. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to this because I wanted to make sure we do this. Because I have really been amazed at the amount of interest that has been generated from this show on social media with regard to the WNBA. I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming. But the attention that we're getting from people on TikTok and on X, Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, it is astounding the number of people that want to talk about the WNBA. So if we're going to talk WNBA, let's go here, if you will. Brittney Griner stops a post-game interview on national television to basically go after an official. Okay.
Yes.
Look, it happens. It's the heat of the game. It's the heat of the moment. It's not a big deal.
Ready? Hang on. Here's the comment. Be fucking better.
Well,
Be
okay.
Fucking better. I'm just so because I'm not sure how many know. But that was the comment in the middle of a live interview. I think it was CBS, middle of a live interview on CBS, tells the ref, be fucking better.
Right. She did. She went after him, heat of the moment. Okay. Yep. But if that was a male basketball player who turned to an official in the middle, if that was Steph Curry who turned to somebody, and again, Brittney Griner is not Steph Curry. I get that. But I'm just saying if it was an equitable player who in the middle of a live television interview would have turned and said, hey, ref, be fucking better. If it was a male player who said it, I guarantee you this would go away in no time. It'd be no big deal. But because it's a female player, it's getting more heat.
Who says it? Which player says it from the male side?
Okay, I don't know.
You said Steph. You said Steph.
Okay.
I'm going to use your example of Steph.
Okay.
Steph, because Steph then comes out and plays babyface and apologizes right away. It goes away.
Right.
And maybe he gets fined. He gets fined for chastising a ref.
Yeah, the NBA will immediately go after him.
If LeBron or Anthony Edwards, I'm trying to pick someone who can be a little bit of a hothead or a little we've had Anthony Edwards on when I was doing games at ESPN Radio, and Anthony Edwards would be the live post-game guest. After a win, Anthony has his mouth can travel, and there's one banned word that every individual knows, but the brothers like calling each other this word, so you guys know the word I'm talking about.
The N-word, get it? Yep.
Yep, and he'll throw the N-word out there, and Ant will, but he's happy and he's saying it. He's like, oh, that's my. But if Ant ever in just being angry, if Anthony Edwards ever said, oh, be fucking better. Or LeBron says, hey, man, be fucking better. See, I think it lasts. I think it gets bigger, more attention than even this is getting. Actually, I do.
See, but I don't know. I think there's a double standard here. And I think there's a lot. Look, and I read a lot of the social media posts when Brittney Griner said it. And there's a second issue with Griner we'll get to in a moment. But when she said it, people are assaulting her because they're going, oh, you mean we traded for this? We got her out of Russia for this so that she could go ahead and be this kind of a person and she could denigrate the sport.
Hang on. That's the side of people who just don't fucking like, who just don't let, who they don't like. Yeah.
They don't like, people. Come on, say it.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not saying it, but everyone can figure it out.
Here, I'll go ahead and say it. These are coming from people, either coming from black people or white people or from ever, who have a racial side to it and are seeing it because it's a black female who was involved and she dissed the United States of America. So how could she do it? And they're going to go after her for it. It's a heat of the moment in a game. Players are like this. We want players to be excitable. We want them to be aggressive in how they play. This has been going on for years. It's not. Do you think Brittney Griner is the first athlete who ever played basketball who turned to an official and said, "Hey, be fucking better"?
Right.
You serious?
I'm with you 100%. It's crap. But so because it's Brittney Griner, and I by the way, I totally forgot about it had not occurred to me. You're right. A lot of the heat she will be getting is from those who the racial hangups. They don't like her, especially because of the whole Russia thing.
I've read it. It's all over social media. It's one of the first things I saw on a TikTok and also on an X post where they said, oh, you mean we went ahead and traded a merchant of death for this POS?
Yeah.
We should send her back to Russia. Oh, come on, people. Cut the shit, will you?
By the way, also, those people, the keyboard warriors who will never come out and show themselves in the light of day. They're just trash. Those people are trash. Absolute trash.
My point is, there's a lot of heat being given to Griner because, look, she may not be what a lot of people like in a player. Right. But she said it. It was the emotional side of things. Bust her for it. But the fact that she caught a lot of heat for it, I think it was totally overboard. However, when Brittney Griner fouls out of a game and she's sitting on the bench and the cameras are looking right at her, and she was talking about Caitlin Clark because the foul involved Caitlin Clark on the other side, and Brittney Griner mouths the word, and if you see it, we didn't play it here because, I mean, you can see it from a lot of different places. If you're on podcast, go search it out. Just search out Brittney Griner trash Caitlin Clark, and you'll see the video. She mouths the word trash, obviously talking about Caitlin Clark, and then she also spits out effing white girl. You can see it. It's right there where she spits the words out, effing white girl. Now, she's taking some heat for that. Imagine, if you will, Caitlin Clark said effing black girl. And the double standard that would hit because it's Caitlin Clark. People, this stuff happens. Not only that, but if the WNBA wants to hammer down on hate speech, okay, let's correlate this another side. You want to slap down on hate speech? Tell one of your best players, and arguably Brittney Griner is still one of their best players in the WNBA. Tell one of your best players, don't make it about race.
Right.
Don't make it about race. That's part of the hate speech right there that you're starting. Although Brittney would come back and say, oh, come on. We say that stuff all the time. She calls me black girl. I call her white girl. It goes back and forth over and over again. Nobody says a thing. It's that tempest in a teapot, that contrived controversy again that we're at, that I think people are looking for, Kevin. And because it's the WNBA and because it's female athletes, oh, women don't talk like that. Are you kidding? Women are not guys. They don't, oh, come on. Grow up.
Competition. It's competition. It's and that's the beauty of competition. You're supposed to be angry at the effing white girl or whoever, if that's what it is. Because guess what? I guarantee the peers, if you're watching it, they go, damn, that white girl good. Damn, that black guy can play. Hang on, ready? Ed, did you ever see Nolan Richardson's induction speech into the Hall of Fame?
I did not. I heard about it, but I did not see it.
You've heard about it. And that's when Nolan Richardson, the former coach at the University of Arkansas, 40 Minutes of Hell, he's listening to a game, and he's listening to a game back in the 70s, and all the play-by-play guy on the radio is saying is bird, 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 bird. And you can Google this, everyone. It's out there. It's incredible. And Nolan Richardson, black man, is thinking, damn, that brother can play. And Nolan Richardson says, so how about my surprise when I open the paper the next morning and there's a picture of Larry Bird and he's white? Yeah, it's the video's incredible. He says, he goes,
can you imagine if he were to say that today?
Right. But that's part of it is also at the time, Bird didn't give a shit about race.
No,
now,
he never did.
Race is everywhere. And my point is, people want to make race about everything when the people involved don't give a shit about race, probably.
Well, see, that's all part of it too, because and you hit it right, because whether it's basketball, football, or baseball, specifically basketball or football, college football even, which are predominantly white and black players who are there, if somebody says, that guy's a hell of a black player, look at that white girl play, I mean, they do this all the time. Is it evil? Is it hate speech? No, it's locker room talk. But the problem with it is it gets exposed on national television, and we are in a society right now where we're looking at it saying, how dare you call somebody that effing white girl? You know, I'll bet you Brittney has, I wouldn't doubt it if Brittney has said it to Caitlin's face a few times, and maybe a few more. But to me, it's just no big deal. But because it's the WNBA, and the WNBA is now on a real rise right now, they are being overly scrutinized by so many people. And there's a lot of people scrutinizing them because they're women playing a sport. Come on, I understand that it's getting popularity, but there are still people who downplay the WNBA and denigrate it because it's what they'll say. It's just girls playing basketball, which is complete bullshit. There's some of the best. I think some of the WNBA players are better at skilled play in basketball than some of the NBA players I see. But there's people just doing that because they're denigrating it because it's a woman's sport. It's not a woman's sport. It's a sport. That's it.
I'm with you.
And see, maybe they need to stop calling it women's basketball. It's basketball.
It's just basketball.
It's just basketball, and this shit happens, and players go after each other, and players get angry with each other, and there's going to be some fists thrown sooner or later. Just let it go. But
I'm with you, man.
The WNBA is riding a curve right now, riding a real rise. I find it really interesting where Caitlin Clark is now out for a couple of weeks, and already they're panicking and thinking that the ratings are going to take a huge dive, and they probably will. Because more people are interested in Caitlin Clark than they're interested in other players.
Agree.
She's the best player in the game. So I mean, it's the same thing as wanting to see Michael Jordan play.
I was going to say, I was literally going to ask. I was a kid, so I am probably, I'm 9 years old in 1986 when Jordan plays the Celtics on that Easter Sunday and dropped 63. And that's also the beginning of when David Stern realized I'm no longer going to promote, and it happened more in the 90s, but I'm no longer going to promote the Celtics and the Lakers. I'm going to promote Michael and the Bulls versus Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. Everything became individualized. Are we watching the WNBA take a page out of the NBA back in the 80s, in which they took one singular star, and they put that star on the mantle and said, we're going to get our entire marketing campaign behind you.
Yes.
We are at that stage, aren't
we? We are without question there, because you have the best player in college basketball history who is coming to the pro ranks. You take advantage of every single marketing ploy that you can possibly do. And for the people out there who look at Caitlin Clark and they go, well, I've heard this before. Well, she's a white girl playing basketball, which is mostly black players. So people are really paying attention to her because she's a white girl. Oh, and she's not a lesbian. She has a boyfriend. What does this have to do with anything? Who cares?
Oh, hang on. You want
an
who
athlete.
cares?
She's awesome for crying out loud. You take
you
advantage of it and fly.
You want who cares? Keyboard warrior who thinks their way's the only way.
Keyboard warrior.
Keyboard warrior cares. Trust me.
Well, see, that's what's happening now because the WNBA is out there and getting more attention. You have more keyboard warriors now who are out there paying attention to things like this. Whether it's Caitlin Clark and saying, well, if it was a black player, they wouldn't give her all that kind of attention. Oh, stop.
Agreed.
Oh, stop. That's what the WNBA needs to be going after.
Good news for the WNBA is you're on the rise. Now you're also on everyone's radar. And every now step is going to – I also think everything is going to be scrutinized even more. And the question is, you need the players to come out and say, enough of this shit. Stop, leave us alone. Just let it go. But if that happens, then they're going to get criticized for being too soft. They've almost put themselves in a no-win situation because you're going to need to step perfectly for the next couple of years, and no one can. And no one steps perfectly for that long.
It's an excellent point because the players are still going to have to, and people hate to hear this, but the WNBA players are going to have to toe a line right now.
Yeah.
It's a new line. You're actually getting some amazing attention, amazing attendance. There's money starting to come in here, and everybody is going to profit from it sooner or later, but it's going to take time. And if you screw this up, if anybody does something stupid, then you're going to be hammered, and then the league is going to falter just a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen as much because the attention on Clark right now is immense. I mean, everybody wants to see her play. And if you think about it, she's not like she doesn't dunk. What does she do? She makes 3-pointers from the parking lot. Yep. You know, and she's tough-nosed, and she gets down there and
it's the new dunk.
Beats it up in the paint.
She shoots the new dunk.
There it is, the new dunk. And I'll tell you, I don't even mind that because dunks kind of get a little boring after a while.
That's a fair point.
They really do. Reminder again, if you want to go ahead and catch us on, and I'll do this really nice, and I'll do this in a normal voice so that Kevin doesn't get all excited right now. Don't forget on YouTube, at The Fastest Show in Sports is our channel. Please subscribe there. Catch the shorts, catch everything. Podcast, The Fastest Show in Sports, all the major platforms, including especially on Podbean. TikTok and X, you see it there too. Go to me at Berliner Speaks. You can see clips of what we're doing. Email, fastestshowinsports@gmail.com. There you go, all that. Who wins Knicks Pacers?
Pacers.
Who wins Oklahoma City, Minnesota?
That series is done. That'll be over in Oklahoma City on, so what? Tonight's Tuesday, so this is Game 4 in the East tonight when this thing posts. And on Wednesday, series Oklahoma City will win this in 5 tomorrow night. When we start, no matter what, the NBA Finals will start on Sunday, Game 1. You and I will have our matchup to discuss, I believe, by Friday.
Friday, okay. Who wins between Dallas and Edmonton?
Edmonton.
Edmonton, yes. I agree with you completely.
Yep. And the
Florida,
Panthers series.
Florida and Carolina?
It's over. We're getting a rematch. We're getting a rematch this time. McDavid gets his cup.
Well, okay. See, now we can even probably talk about that by the time Friday comes around because the Florida Panthers are one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the National Hockey League right now. Right. But Connor McDavid is getting hot. And if people have not seen this guy play, he's astounding. He is so damn talented.
We're gonna have 2 storylines to talk about. McDavid becoming the next one, and then Canada finally winning a cup for the first time since '93.
Yeah, but you're forgetting the third storyline.
Don't tell me Brad Marchand.
Absolutely. Brad Marchand getting his ring, getting a second ring after 2011 and showing up in Boston and showing off his ring to everybody and saying, see what I got. And I will applaud him for it. And here's what happens. Marchand plays. He's going to re-sign with the Panthers after this year. They'll give him 2 years. They'll give him less money because he'll decide that this is where he wants to play and the organization works well. He then retires. He goes back to Boston, signs a 1-day contract, and retires as a Boston Bruin.
That's fair.
Okay?
I get that. Yep.
And he can have all the ice cream and all the Rocky Road and all the honey he wants. That whole thing about the ice cream gate was just hysterical. Did you hear that story?
No, I didn't. I'll look it up.
You just look it up because he was seen I think it was game, what did we just have? We just had game 4?
Yeah, game 4, yeah.
One of the intermissions in game 3, he was seen in the locker room and he's licking a spoon. And it turned out, even Marchand said it was Dairy Queen. He had Rocky Road or some kind of who was sent to him for Dairy Queen in the intermission. Turned out even he was just hosing people. Turned out he had honey on the damn spoon. So it was a whole thing. DQ is now, I guarantee you will see a Dairy Queen commercial with Brad Marchand in it sooner or later. There will be Dairy Queen in the Panthers arena next season because it's a huge marketing effort to get there.
You figured it out.
I got it. And by the way, Dairy Queen, we're open for sponsorship as well.
We absolutely are. Nothing like a strawberry sundae. Your ice cream's the best. And
Okay.
I'm not bullshitting either.
Next week, or the next show, we do a Kevin Winter spot for Dairy Queen.
I gotta get a Frosty.
Get it up. No, don't get a Frosty. That's the other guys.
No, I'm not. No, Dairy. Blizzard.
See?
Blizzard.
We'd like to apologize for Dairy Queen for my
bad.
compatriot bringing in a Wendy's product, which is nothing more than all sugar, for crying out loud. Get out of here. He's Kevin Winter. I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is the fastest show in sports. Make sure you watch us on YouTube. Subscribe as well. Till next time, rock on, true believers. Say it.
That's all, folks.